So we're here in Fresno, California. Just finished installing a 50-gallon Bradford White natural gas water heater. And one of the first things that we did at the bottom, and which was part of contract, is replace this ball valve. The old one was the spin-through ball valve, original to home, built in the 70s, late 70s. And typically what happens, the valve actually goes all the way through the body to the bottom, and it begins to leak out the bottom typically, and then PG&E comes out, shuts your gas off. And so we just threw that in there. Normally we don't replace those unless they're in bad shape, but we put it in there because that is an older valve. And then second part of the contract is the flexible supply line. This is a brand new 1/2-inch OD. The old one was 3/8 OD, so very small. This is the full 1/2-inch OD by 24-inch long supply line, flexible, so that's installed. Bottom third adjustable strap. The water heater did have adjustable straps installed probably 2011, I think. There was a Kenmore in here which failed. Had some straps in there, but they were placed up too, one was placed up too high, and both of them weren't really holding anything. But anyways, lower third is code and contract, so this one's installed, and then upper third by code and contract, so that is in. Relief valve comes with the water heater, that's installed. This guy, in the event of too much temperature and or pressure, this will activate and relieve the pressure in the form of, the air and the water, so you'll get water out of the bottom, and the line sits right behind this door. The discharge line for that sits right there at the bottom, down there. It'll dump it, and that is the most important part of the water heater right there. So you can activate that once a year to make sure that it's functioning correctly. If not, I rarely see these fail. But if you do get water out of that line that I just showed you behind the door, something's going on with the unit. Either this has failed or something as far as safety goes is happening with the unit. And then there's a little Falcon stainless steel connector that goes over to the existing relief line in the wall. That's connected. We did relocate the gas right there a little bit. It was pointing straight out at the side of the water heater, so we just put a little shorty nipple and a 90 and brought it down here. So that's good. We use a little sniffer, a gas sniffer detector that detects leaks, so we ran that, and everything's green, good to go back in there. So that is good. Up here, we did go ahead, and part of the contract was to replace the shutoff valve. It was an old gate valve. It was leaking the last time we were out here. The first time we were out here this morning, it was dripping. Tighten the packing, that's still dripping, so we replaced that as part of the contract. Over on the hot side, we replaced it as well, simply because we didn't want to fuss with hot and cold water. Sometimes you'll shut things down, go ahead and get a valve on here and get it shut off, and turn the water back onto the home, and sure enough, water comes flying out of the hot side because something in the home is cross-connected. So we wanted to avoid that, and so just another valve in there. It's not $15, no big deal. Well, I mean, it is a big deal, but anyways, we put one in there just for isolation purposes, so these were both off during the installation of the water heater, so we could turn the cold water back onto the home. Beyond that, we've got brass. Now, this is all galvanized piping in the home, so these are existing pipes coming out of the wall, the hot and the cold. Those aren't ours. The valves, both the hot and the cold, are ProFlow right out of Ferguson, 3/4 full port, quarter turn ball valves, means quarter turn off and quarter turn on. Same thing on the hot side. And again, like I say, you don't need that one over there, but it's nice to have. You shut them both down and take everything apart, replace your water heater. It's nice to have two valves in there. So we did put brass in, just because brass does not corrode on the inside like the galvanized pipe does. We could have put iron pipe in and saved a little bit of money, because it is iron pipe home, but we like the brass. It's not going to scale up at all inside of there. It's going to flow real well. Now, they did rough these waters in pretty high off the top of the tank. I'm not sure why. Usually you're within 10 inches. These are about 18 or 20 inches high. So we didn't have a supply line to connect it, to get it long enough to get down here. So we just put two supply lines together. These are Falcon stainless steel connectors, 0.725 inside diameter, which 0.75 is a full 3/4 of an inch. So these are the biggest they make. These are Ultra Mega Flex supply lines, the biggest flow inside of supply lines for water heaters. We like them. We've been using them a while and no trouble with them. Plus, they're really flexible. You can take these apart, straighten them out, and use them over and over again. And then just connected it with a piece of, a little brass nipple right here. So that's tied together down to the tank. And again, brass coupling, brass nipple. We do that because the nut right here, it's got a little gasket that sits down on top of this little nipple that comes out of the tank. And there's a little plastic sleeve. It's a heat trap that sits over the top. And the two don't really pair up very well. You end up having to way over tighten this nut, and I don't like it. So we just build it up a little bit, use a brass nipple there and tighten it down, and it seems to fit real well that way. So quite a bit of brass in here. It's some extra money as compared to iron pipe, but I think it's worth it. So and that's all. No, I mean, it's obviously part of the installation is free. So cold water been tested. We felt, you know, if you could monitor this from occasion, just come out here, honestly, run your finger around. You can see here, run your finger around the bottom of these, that fitting there, top of the fitting here on the brass, and then where the connector ties into the brass nipple. You know, just run your finger around this stuff and take a look. Look at the top of the tank and just monitor it for any kind of weeping. Weeping is simply just barely, you can't even detect a leak. It's not spraying, it's not spitting. It just barely is bubbling up out of there, and then finally it will form a drop of water and roll down. Well, over a period of months, you know, that will cause damage in here. So if you could just monitor this from occasion, I know it's all the way outside the house around to the far side, but just monitor all this right here where the connections are. You know, you can feel that. Same thing over here, you can feel that. And then also where we've tied in our ball valve. So we've screwed it on. And, you know, so all these are points of connection where water could escape. Now, you know, we are licensed, bonded, insured. Can't advertise that, but we're licensed and insured. And so no problems there, but once we leave, we don't know what's happening. So we kind of like to partner with the homeowner to make sure that everything stays as it is. So just, you know, give us a holler right away if something's going on. We'll come out and take care of it, take care of the problem, whatever it is. Last thing is the venting. We took it out. It was an old piece of vent pipe in there, put it in the 70s. So new draft diverter came with the water heater, adjustable to 90 right there. Piece of pipe, I don't know, it's 25 inches long, something like that. And then another pipe up into old asbestos. So what you've got up in there in the ceiling is asbestos that goes up into a bonnet, not a full flashing that where the pipe dual wall B vent comes through and you've got a storm collar and storm cap, but the old school bonnet where it just kind of the asbestos piping up there just barely penetrates the roof line and gravity vents through a bonnet up on the roof. Then we kind of got these cables out of the way. Got some cables sticking through the bucket, and it was pretty close to that vent up there. So we took that little white cable that's not connected to anything and kind of wrapped it around and pulled it out of the way. So anyways, everything looks good in here. Everything's tight. Tank is full. The burner is on, heating the water. A couple hours you should have hot water. Right now you're at hot. And that is approximately 120 degrees. And you can check that with a thermometer, any faucet in the home, or you could if you wanted to. Best test is, you know, little hose right there. Fill some water in a bucket, and you know, once the burner's off, fill that bucket up, a couple gallons, and put a digital thermometer in there, and that'll tell you exactly the temperature. Or you can just put your hand in the water in the house and see what temperature you've got. But that's about 120, A, 130, B, 140, C, 150, very hot, 160, B, at 140, you got third-degree burns in 3 seconds. So leave it on hot. You know, there's not much need for any hotter water than that. If you have issues in the home with keeping hot water or getting hot water, it's probably not the water heater. It's brand new. It's producing what it's set to right here. And the best indicator is, like I say, pour the hose right here and fill up a bucket and put a digital thermometer in it. It'll tell you exactly the temperature. Or put your hand in it. Be careful when you put your hand in it. Don't just dunk it in there. Just see what the temperature is. If there could be something going on with a tub shower valve, with a single handle lavatory faucet or kitchen faucet where the cartridge has failed and the water is crossing all on its own. So it could be an issue in the home. Anyway, so leave that there at A. I mean hot. If you feel like you need 130, go ahead and crank it up there. But just be careful if you ever have any kids, grandkids, anybody that is susceptible to scalding because of their age. You can see scalding risk increases with hotter water. So that is it. Go ahead and get this paperwork in here as documentation. You can fill it out and get it to Bradford White, mail it to them. Or you can go to bradfordwhite.com, enter your model number and your serial number and your full name, street address, all that kind of information. Get your warranty going on this product. Plus, when you call them, they'll know where it's installed. Outside of that, this installation is done.